Hello everyone and welcome to the 2-week roundup on the channel. A bit later in the day than usual if you're watching the same day it's gone up, and the reason behind that is, well, time's gradually catching up with me as I'm running all over the place looking to try and get employment. But there we go, a few things brewing. I'll let you know probably in a couple of days time how that goes, because it's probably going to have an impact on the channel. When I was putting games up beforehand, in case I got ill or anything like that, there'll be a 2-week well, I'll be doing videos 2 weeks in advance, so I've got a 2-week buffer. That buffer's gradually come down, so you probably wouldn't notice too much of a difference in the amount of content that goes up. But now that buffer's completely gone, so videos I'm doing now are going up now, essentially. So the buffer is gone. Anyway, what videos or what games have we been looking at this time? We'll do a top 6 as usual, but what games didn't make the top 6? Well, there's 3 Spectrum games that didn't quite do it this time round. We'll go through them quite quickly. There was Altered Beast by Activision in 1989. It's an arcade conversion. The Spectrum is attempting a lot here, as it did with a lot of arcade conversions. They put colour in, but it's very, very slow. I don't really like the game. Some people might have liked it, but I think it's just a bit messy and attempting too much. The next one was real wasted licenses. Next one is Grange Hill by Argus Software in 1987. Based on the BBC show, it's no longer on TV anymore, unfortunately, but I think all the old episodes are on YouTube. Grange Hill, you control a character called Gonch, and you must get into a school and rescue your Walkman that's been confiscated, a musical device, and then get back out again with the help of your friend Hollow. Graphics are quite poor on this. Jumping is a bit weird. It's very, very difficult and doesn't seem very easy to work out what you need to do. So that's Grange Hill, great show, but terrible game. And another game that didn't quite make it this time round was Death Star Interceptor by System 3 Software in 1985. Based loosely on Star Wars, but no Star Wars license, back in an era where you can get away with quite a lot of stuff. A Death Star is attacking the Earth this time, and we send up a ship that looks a bit like an X-Wing to try and blow it up. Set into 3 stages. One, we must go through a teleport gateway, which is pretty tricky first of all. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Second stage, which is cleverly coded but goes on too long and a bit boring, we must avoid TIE fighters. I think the idea was you had to try and shoot and destroy them, but if you go to one side of the screen not attacking them and just weave back them forward, you're probably going to avoid all of them without a battle at all. And then the trench run, which goes on for about a year, and that's quite dull as well. So that's quite 3 games that could have been a lot. Well, Altered Beast I don't think could have been much better because I was tempting too much. Death Star Interceptor could have been way better if you compare it to games like 3D Star Strike on the Spectrum, which are fantastic, probably the best of its genre. And then Grange Hill, not much care taken there, a bit of a wasted opportunity. Pinball games we looked at this time, we had a bit of a jump. So first of all, we looked at Zen Pinball 2, Star Wars A New Hope. Already looked at that previously on the PlayStation 3. Good to look at the PlayStation 4. Minor changes graphically, a real nice game there, based on Star Wars. Had to turn the Star Wars music off, of course, otherwise I get done by a copyright. Plays quite well, number of modes based on the film, so you can go through there step by step. And yeah, so take a look at that one, 2014. If you're into pinball and Star Wars, then that's a no-brainer. Now, the big thing that's happened this time round is Zen Pinball 2.
He's almost in range.
There's been released a new one, so an evolution, Pinball FX3. So now the game is known as the same on Steam and Xbox One. They used to be known as FX2 on that set, and on PlayStation 4, PlayStation, Zen Pinball 2. Now they come together, it's just called Pinball FX3. Look, there's lots and lots of different modes. The graphics been overhauled. The shadowing looks a little bit better. And on this, first of all, I've downloaded the Universal Collection, which features 3 films, Jaws, Back to the Future and E.T. This time round I've just reviewed Jaws, and that's absolutely fantastic. I think the speech is voice acted, but there's Quint there. Lots of different modes. The shark might turn up every now and again, and that is absolutely awesome. I'm really looking forward to reviewing more tables there if I get the time. DRIVECLUB we've been looking at as well periodically, looking at the bikes. And before we come to the top 6, just 2 lots to cover, and this is on the Sega Mega Drive collection we've been going for on the PlayStation 3, which I've been very impressed by this collection. A lot of good games there, a lot of gems I haven't played before. The first one was Columns It's a bit like a Tetris variant. These came out in 2009 on the collection, in the 90s in the real world. Bit of a Tetris variant, this one. You control 3 colours going down the screen. You can rotate them. When you get 3 in a row, mounting them up in blocks, they disappear. And there we go. So you get the idea behind that. And the other one was KID CHAMELEON. A bit Super Mario-ish, but does enough to stand up in its own right, I think. I played the first few levels. There's about 103 of them. The first few levels were okay for me, but I'm told shortly after that the difficulty ramps up to ridiculously difficult, and the game was maybe far more difficult than it needed to be, and it sucked the fun out of it. I didn't mind the first few levels, as I say, from feedback, which is always good. That's why I love the comment section. It gets ridiculously stupid after that point. So, this video is going to be a bit longer than I intended, but there we go. We're just starting the top 6. Here we go. This might, I can't guarantee it, but this might be the last ever 2-week roundup. We might have to think of something else. But anyway, in 6th place this time round is KRAZY Golf, spelt with a C or a K, I don't really know. Even the writers couldn't decide. But by Mr. Micro in 1983, so it's a very early game. You have to take this into account when you're reviewing them, and that's why I sneaked that into the top 6. Could easily have been outside. But basically, you knock a full stop round the screen, round various obstacles. Starts off quite frustrating and ends off even more frustrating. I didn't have the power to get right to the end of that one. You set your direction and your speed. It's well coded with the obstacles, but it's just so frustrating. The level design quite late on is quite bad. It's not feasible to get the ball in under par. So have a look at that one. If you disagree, then let me know. But it was very frustrating game. Number 5, a good game. But I was a bit disappointed because the other ones in the series were so brilliant. Was Crystal Kingdom Dizzy on the ZX Spectrum, published by Codemasters in 1992. The 7th one in the series of the main Dizzy game, because there are other satellite ones around that. I didn't think it was quite as good as the other ones. A bit about it made me feel like someone else had coded it and didn't, with the idea of Dizzy, but didn't really feel like it. It didn't quite move as Dizzy. The puzzles were a bit more tricky and I didn't really get too far. If you got all the others, then by all means get this one to complete this set. But I have been told that this game has been remade later on the Spectrum, made to be a bit better. So I'm not sure the other ones have done, but I heard this one in particular has been. So maybe time permitting, I might try and track that one down as well. Because this was a bit of a shame, but worthy of 5th place. And in 4th place, it's a sequel, 3D Stock Cars 2, published by Challenge Software in 1992. If you're familiar with the game Super Sprint, it's top-down racing, a bit like that. The cars are ever so slightly 3D, but I think it's a bit much calling it 3D. The first game was like an isometric oblique view, a little bit slow in play. This one is just fully top-down. It's a good game, it plays quite well, it is run-of-the-mill, there are a lot like it. One disadvantage of this is there's qualifying separate from the race, which is not bad, but you have to wait for the computer to qualify separately, so you can't qualify at the same time as them, so that slows it down a little. Gives you a break between races, but that's just a small thing, but it plays well. The lead car, the white car, is a lot quicker than you, so you rely on him crashing or crashing into him at the start there. But anyway, it isn't bad. 3D Stock Cars 2. So, in 6th place, all of these on the ZX Spectrum, is KRAZY Golf by Mr. Micro in 1983. In 5th place, Crystal Kingdom Dizzy by Codemasters in 92. And in 4th place, 3D Stock Cars 2 by Challenge Software in 1992. So that comes to the top 3. What top 3 games have we played, in my opinion? As I say, you might differ there, but it's the enjoyment I got and the year they come out. In 3rd place, an arcade conversion. It's Return of the Jedi by DOMARK in 1988. From memory, I think the arcade cabinet came out in 84, perhaps. Set over a number of stages based on Endor and attacking the Death Star, essentially. First bit, it's an isometric view. You're on a speeder bike, you must avoid trees and bikers coming at you. You might be familiar with this game already because we did review it in fact on the ZX Spectrum. This plays slightly better than the Spectrum version. You can be a bit more aggressive with it, like crash into bikers without the fear of blowing up, smash them into the sides, then get to the Ewok village. The next stage, you're in the Millennium Falcon, must avoid TIE fighters. Similar gameplay, but you get to the Death Star, hit the reactor, blow it up and come back. And then the last stage, it's a combination of being in a AT-AT Walker and against a Star Destroyer and then in Falcon 2 X-Wings to blow that up. So It's not bad, it's cleverly coded, it's a good arcade conversion, I would say. I've been told in the arcade version on the speeder bike, you've got Princess Leia sitting on there. The bikes in this one, there's just some strange person in a blue jumpsuit. But anyway, you can't have everything, and it played quite well, the music was quite funky in that too. In second place, a vertical shooter, which I like quite a lot actually. It's Mega Typhoon by NORDLICHT in 1996. So quite a late entry in the Commodore Amiga's run, so PlayStation was thereabouts at the time, so a lot of people might not have heard about this and might have moved on to the next generation of gaming by that point. Plays really good, it's quite a narrow play field, but you can go left and right and the screen scrolls to a certain degree, maybe a few inches either direction, and that's good. A lot of cool power-ups there, great sounds on this, and plays good. Really impressive shoot 'em up. When I previously did a top 10 of my favourite vertical shooters of all time, I was unaware of Mega Typhoon, and this definitely would get into that. Maybe not the top 3, but it might break into the top 5. I'd have to sit down with it. But Mega Typhoon, if you own an Amiga or even emulation, you haven't heard of Mega Typhoon, and you're into shooters, then track this one down. It's well worth it. Have a look at the review, see what you think, and have a go at it. It's quite short, I believe, once you get used to it. Only 4, well, it's supposed to be 8 stages. I think it revolves around after 4. And number 1, a lot of people like this game the same as me. I think there's a couple of people who weren't too keen on it. But it's on the ZX Spectrum. It's CHEVY Chase high-tech software from 1991. So again, in terms of system, it's quite late in the Spectrum run, so few people might have missed it. But why I put this at number 1 is it just moves so fast. The circuits are pretty similar to each other, but a good change of sky when you go to different stages. It's based loosely around the outrun idea, where you must race across several states. You can control either one of 2 Chevrolet cars. The sprites are nice and big. Collision detection is good. You can choose the colour of the car as well. And the idea is you must meet your girlfriend or boyfriend at the end to get to a diner. I played it with a poke on it, but if you play it without a poke, just using your skill alone, there's quite a lot to do there. And I was really impressed with this game, merely because of the speed, really. I'm really impressed in the Spectrum and then get things to move fast with 48K, and this is phenomenal. There is an 128K version with the steering wheel moves as well, I believe, and there might be a bit of extra music, but 48K is doing a splendid job. So, in third place was Return of the Jedi by DOMARK in 1988 on the Commodore Amiga. Second place on the Commodore Amiga again, Mega Typhoon by NORDLICHT in 1996. And top of the shop on the ZX Spectrum is CHEVY Chase by High-Tech Software in 1991. Now, thanks for watching the videos as always, it's really appreciated. As I say, I've lost my 2-week buffer now, so it might start getting now a bit more sporadic when I can put videos up, but hopefully maybe next Friday or in a few days' time when I've got a bit more news, I'll be able to update you on the current situation. So, keep retro gaming, take good care of yourself, and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.